Your math lesson for Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. I can't believe it's already May 19th, and I'm so excited because in this video, you are learning how to make something called a picture graph. To learn along with me today, you're going to need something to write with, and as usual, you're going to need a piece of paper. We're going to be solving a couple problems together. So pause your video, get everything you need, and then let's get started. So today we do have a warm-up on our agenda because I wanted to give us a little extra practice with comparison problems. We saw them a little bit yesterday, but I realized you guys probably haven't worked very much on comparison problems since first grade, so we should do a little more review. Then we're going to learn some new words that have to do with picture graphs. We're going to create a graph, and then we're going to answer some questions together. So let's get started. Comparison problems are something that it's really easy to think about if we're talking about height. So I made up a story problem about some of my favorite Kipsters, Kennedy and Morris. And so they're just comparing heights, and you can imagine in your head them standing next to each other and there being a difference right there. So Kennedy and Morris are comparing how tall they are. Kennedy is 54 inches tall and Morris is 46 inches tall. So how many more inches tall is Kennedy than Morris? How many more means that we are finding the difference. So I put boxes around my key information, I underlined my question, but I wanted to explain that how many more means we want to know the difference between two amounts. It's a clue that what we're doing is called a comparison problem. It's also a clue that subtraction or a strategy like counting on might make sense as a strategy for solving our problem because we're not finding the total, we're finding out the difference between a bigger amount and a smaller amount. That's what comparing means. So let's get started. I drew two tape diagrams, but I made a mistake on my tape diagrams. I drew a tape for Kennedy that's for 54 inches and for Morris that's 46 inches. I wonder what you think my mistake might be. One issue I had was that I made them the same size, but they're not representing the same amount. Kennedy's height was more inches than Morris's. So that means that Kennedy's tape should be longer and Morris's should be shorter. So I just fixed it like that. 54 and 46 are pretty big numbers, so I'm not going to draw 56 dots, but I might use dots in a little bit just to help me find the difference. Let me show you what I mean. So I drew a line right here for 46. That means everything on this side is up to 46. So we could pretend we drew 46 dots. Then right here, I'm saying that's 46. And then after that is the amount more inches that Kennedy's height is. So this question's asking me to find out basically how many more inches would Morris have to grow to be the same. So this missing piece. So I'm just going to draw dots until I get to 54, so I'm using counting on to solve it. So draw dots along with me. Here we go. So 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, and that's it. We're getting to 54. So now I'm going to count how many new dots I had to make, and that is my difference, 8 more inches. So she's 8 inches taller than Morris. I could write a number sentence to show this too. We could start at 46 plus something equals 58, so that was counting on. So part plus missing part equals whole. Or, because we know a whole and a part, we could use subtraction. The whole is 54 minus one of the parts is 46 would give us the other part. Like that. But because we already solved it like this, I know that that missing part was 8. And so my answer is Kennedy's 8 inches taller than Morris. That was a comparison problem. And then when we look at our tables and answer questions about our data, we are also going to answer a lot of comparison problems. So the easiest trick to know is that subtraction or counting on is the best way to solve if it's asking you how many more or how many less. But that's all for that for now. Now let's switch a little bit and learn about a new kind of graph, picture graphs. So a picture graph is a way to represent data using pictures, just like a table is a way to represent data using tally marks, rows, and columns. We used tables yesterday. So a table could look something like this, where we did birds, mammals, reptiles, and we drew tally marks. For a picture graph, it's going to look like this. There's some things that are the same, but there's also some things that are different. So on a picture graph, there's a lot of parts. We're going to have a title that's going to tell us what the graph shows. But on a picture graph, instead of tally marks, we're using symbols. Symbols are any representation of the data, usually pictures. We're going to put those symbols, and each symbol stands for something. The legend tells us that each circle, so that's our symbol on this graph, stands for one animal. So we organized it the same with our categories, which were the things that a group of people or things might have in common. So all the fish went here, all the reptiles went here, mammals and birds. And then we put one circle for each type of animal, just like that. What I like about a picture graph is that you can really quickly see which groups have the most, which groups have the least, and kind of compare the groups just by looking at them. So I think picture graphs are really nice for comparison. So now you're going to watch me make a picture graph to show data from a table. So we're going to start off with this table right here, and then I'm going to go through these steps, and I want you to follow along with me to see what it looks like in a picture graph. So first off, let's label the title and categories. The title is animal habitats, so I'm going to put that up at the top. Then the categories were all the places they lived. So the Arctic, the woodlands, or the ocean. So those are my categories: Arctic, woods, and ocean. Step 2, define your symbols in the legend. So the legend is down here, and remember that's the place where I say what each symbol stands for. So here I'm going to use triangles just for fun and say each triangle represents one animal. So now I'm going to use my symbol triangles to show the number in each category. So I'm going to look up at my table. My table has 4 in the Arctic, so I'm going to use 4 triangles, just like that. Now if I look at the woods, I see 10 woodland animals, so that means I'm going to put in how many triangles? 10 for those 10 animals. Next, I'm going to do ocean animals. We had 6 ocean animals, so that means I'm going to put 6 triangles, and I'm all done. So that is making a picture graph from a table. Now we're going to do the same kind of problems we asked yesterday, but looking at a picture graph. So let's try those together. We're going to look at our picture graph to answer all these questions. Our first question is, how many birds, mammals, and reptiles did we count? So that's asking to find out our total of just birds, mammals, and reptiles. So I want you to pause the video and write a number sentence to show that. All right. I would probably go ahead and also label each category with the total number in that category. So your number sentence should say 4 for birds plus 8 plus 5, like this, but I made a mistake. It should not have fish because we don't have fish there. So 4 plus 8 plus 5, just like that. 4 plus 8 plus 5, I'd look for facts I know. I know 4 plus 8 is 12, and so then 12 plus 5 is 17. So my total would be 17, just like that. All right, let's move on to our next question. Which category, had the fewest number of animals? Fewest means least. So I want you to go ahead and look which category had the fewest animals. I would say the fish, because the fish only had 3 animals. Next question, how many fewer reptiles are there than mammals? How many fewer means we're comparing. So I wonder what you remember about what we talked about comparing. What that means is you're probably going to want to subtract. So how many fewer means we're comparing between the reptiles and the mammals. So take the bigger number, 8, and subtract 5. 8 minus 5. Or you could do counting on. 5 plus something equals 8. So I have 8, and then I'm going to subtract 5 from that. So I could just hold up 8 fingers right here and subtract 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means I have 3 left over. So there are 3 fewer reptiles than mammals. If you feel like this is getting easy, it really should, because you guys have solved a ton of comparison problems already, and it's really just subtracting. So let's look at another picture graph. On this one, it's going side to side. It's the one I made earlier. And we want to know how many animals did we count in all. In all is our code for finding the total or the whole, so go ahead and write a number sentence for that. I went ahead and labeled our groups, but write a number sentence to find the total. If you want to take extra time, just pause the video. So I wrote my number sentence like that, and then I looked for groups that I know. I know that 4 plus 6 is 10, so really I'm just dealing with 2 tens, and 2 tens is 20. So we counted 20 animals in all. Next question's a little tricky. How many more animals live in the woods than in the ocean? Did you hear a clue there? You should have heard the clue, how many more. That means we are comparing. So go ahead and write a subtraction sentence or a counting on sentence to find the difference between the wood animals, which is 10, and the ocean animals, which is 6. You should have found out that there were 4 more animals in the woods than in the ocean. And that is it for our comparison problems. So go ahead and switch over, answer the rest of your Google Classroom problems for today, and then you're all done with Tuesday's math. Awesome job, and I'm looking forward to teaching you in Wednesday's video. See you later. Bye-bye.